My dad won't walk me down the aisle, and I want to know if I should uninvite him from the wedding. The author of the post is listed in the description. I, 30F, am getting married in about a month to my best friend, 35M. I did not grow up knowing my dad, 55M, very well, as him and my mom divorced when I was an infant. He remarried and had several kids with his new wife, who hates my very existence. There was a lot of hurtful things done when I was growing up, like not being allowed in her house when I visited that led me to be estranged from my father. He never really made much of an effort, but after I was 18, I completely cut him off for my mental health and stopped answering the few calls he attempted. He tried to get into contact every once in a while over the years, but I honestly just ignored him. I was hurt and angry. About a year ago, I got back into contact with some extended family on his side and have been forging a good bond with all of them. I invited them all to our wedding, and they have been amazing. Eventually, I started speaking with my dad as well back around Christmas, and it was tense at first, but I decided to just give him a chance. We have slowly been getting a semblance of a relationship back, and I saw him in person with my fiancé a couple months ago. His wife is not pleased at all, and apparently their kids, my half-siblings, all adults, are also upset about it. I think there were threats of divorce, but my dad still decided to go to my wedding. After a ton of thought, I asked my dad if he wanted to walk me down the aisle, as I have been hopeful for a better relationship, but he turned me down. I wouldn't be as upset if he gave a generic excuse, but he told me his wife and other daughter requested he does not walk me down the aisle, as that is reserved for his other daughter and not me. I am super hurt and not even sure what to reply to that with. He offered to stand at the front and give me away instead, but that isn't what I want. My fiancé thinks we should uninvite him and move on, but I'm not sure if that is the best course of action. He is coming from out of state with the rest of his family, so he already bought a plane ticket and hotel room. Part of me thinks to just politely turn him down, have him as a regular guest, and then just stop talking to him again after the wedding. My mom isn't coming to my wedding because she lives really far away, so I don't really have any other immediate family coming. I'm not sure what the best course of action is, and the wedding is getting super close, so I have to make a decision soon. To answer some common questions I am seeing, no, his wife and my half-siblings are not attending the wedding. I invited them, but they won't even meet me, let alone go to the wedding. He has 2 sons and a daughter with this new wife, all in their 20s. I am not sure if my dad cheated on my mom with my stepmom. My mom, through all her faults, never actually said a bad word about him. He did marry my stepmom by the time I was 2 years old, though, so there wasn't much time in between marriages. They are also very Christian, in the worst way, as in they don't really follow what they claim to believe. My mom cannot fly as she has panic attacks. She also is actually a worse parent than my dad in a lot of ways, believe it or not. I have no male relatives to walk me down the aisle. I also never wanted him to give me away, as I think that is dumb. I just wanted my dad to act like my dad for one moment. My fiancé and I have decided to walk down the aisle together as one of you suggested, so that part is settled. Relevant comments before update. Commenter, do you want this rude, mean stranger at your wedding or do you not? He isn't going to suddenly turn into a nice person or good father to you. If you let him come, I would absolutely not involve him in the ceremony in any way. Like he doesn't get a seat at the front. He doesn't get to speak or stand or do anything. Perhaps you and your fiancé would consider walking down the aisle together or on your own. It does not have to be with a father figure, especially not this one, who doesn't see you as a daughter. Do what is right for you. Your wedding doesn't exist to fix your family. Commenter, yes, all of this. OP, I'd hate for you to look at wedding photos 10 years down the road and be sad because this POS is in photos with you. You're a gem for wanting to try and make things work, and he's a dick and an idiot for making little to no effort. I'm sorry. Answer, that is a great point about the pictures. That is my most important thing for the wedding, so having him in a ton of the pictures will just make me sad when I look back. Commenter, hey OP, I don't have any great words of wisdom for you other than to say that sucks, and to send you a big dad hug. It's what your dad should be giving you as he walks you down the aisle, but in its absence, please accept a hug from a random internet dad who is proud of you and wishes you a wonderful wedding day. Also, it's not your responsibility that your dad has bought a plane ticket and hotel room. Kids of emotionally unavailable parents spend all their time trying to look after their parents' emotional needs in the hopes that their parents might eventually see them and love them. You don't need to look after your dad anymore. He made his choice. Listen to your fiancé. It's not now and has never been okay for your dad to hurt you. He made his choice to appease his wife rather than being fully with you on your big day. It's okay for you to make your choice to have your wedding without him. It might feel like it would be nice to have immediate family at your wedding, but really having him there would most likely just be a reminder of the love and support you needed and deserved as a child, and that you never received. Answer: thank you so much, Internet Dad. I needed to hear this. My mom isn't much better, but I gave up any hope with her a long time ago. Seems like I need to give up hope with my dad as well. On the bright side, my aunt and her family are amazing people, so they will be great at the wedding regardless. Update: 4 months later. Hello everyone, just wanted to start by saying thank you so much for your kind words and advice to my original post. It made me feel so much better. We had an amazing wedding and honeymoon. Everything went really well. My husband wants to thank everyone who said some form of "listen to your fiancé, haha." I'll start with what happened right after my 30F last post. I did uninvite my dad, 50M, from my wedding. The whole interaction was too hurtful to let go of. Before telling him I was uninviting him, I spoke with my aunt, his sister Sandy, 50SF, who was furious at her brother for what he said to me. She has been such a great support of me and my husband, which has been amazing, honestly. After I sent my dad an email detailing how hurtful he had been and that he was uninvited, Sandy called him and yelled at him for being an ass. He replied to my email with a bunch of nonsense deflection about how he has to make sure both sides are happy, but apparently told Sandy, not me, he was sorry and that it was a miscommunication. He claims to Sandy that he was only trying to negotiate with me and that he would have walked me down the aisle if that was what I really wanted. I highly doubt that. My MIL, who is extremely conservative and religious, actually said my dad needed to grow some balls, which shocked literally everyone. Haha. I replied to him that I stood firm in my decision to uninvite and to not contact me again until after the wedding, but that if he did contact me at all, it better be with the understanding that he needs to be present in my life the same way he is his other kids, otherwise to not reach out again. Around this time, right before the wedding, I called my mom and asked her about what really happened with her and my dad when I was a baby, because she never talked about it with me growing up. Unlike my dad and stepmom, my mom never once said anything bad about my dad to me. She was always neutral, positive about him, which I have since thanked her for, as it let me come to my own conclusions about what a deadbeat he is. My mom and I had a good cry about everything, and she let me know how abusive and awful my dad was to her when I was a baby after they split up. I also found out that he married his new wife when I was less than a year old, which is insane considering my parents were still 100% together the day I was born. Sandy swears up and down that she introduced my dad and stepmom to each other after my parents split, as they, stepmom and Sandy, were classmates in college. I don't really care either way at this point. It is just interesting to see how no one has a clear idea of what happened. My thought is that they were cheating, and then used Sandy to introduce them to cover up their behavior. Keep in mind, they are all very Christian, even though they clearly don't follow any of their religious teachings. I didn't hear anything from my dad during the wedding, and Sandy and her family still came. We all had a blast, and everyone was so happy for us. The pictures turned out great, and there isn't anyone in them that I wish I could Photoshop out. So I definitely knew uninviting my dad ended up being the best decision we could make. I talked to Sandy about my dad over the holidays, and she said that him and his wife kids were refusing to go to any family dinners or parties because they are upset that everyone else talks to me. I've been in regular contact with Sandy, my Uncle Jerry, and all of their kids, which makes my stepmom feel betrayed. Sandy is pissed at her because they used to be friends but never understood what her issue was with me. I found out my stepmom treated me like crap the second she had her first kid when I was still a toddler, which probably doesn't surprise anyone. I didn't hear from my dad all through December, but finally in late January I got a random email from him. He sent a long email blaming me for him not being in my life, telling me his wife and kids are more important, but that we need to still be in each other's lives. It was the most BS email he had sent me so far and completely disregarded my wishes back in October when I told him to not contact me unless he was going to treat me like his actual child. I ended up not responding and just blocking his email. I also told Sandy to not share any of the pictures or videos from the wedding with him and to not talk about me with him. I think this will be the end of the relationship with him, since he clearly is incapable of being a parent to me. I feel a lot more at peace with everything that happened, and I am completely okay with how it all turned out. One commenter on my original post said something along the lines of not knowing if my dad would have been a bad parent since he wasn't around, and that really has stuck with me. Thinking about it now, he probably would have been even worse had he actually been in my life. Unfortunately, both my parents are emotionally stunted, but I made a good use of the life that was handed to me and will hopefully break the cycle with my own kids one day. I didn't mention in my last post that my husband and I are going to be moving to the same state as my family in the next year. I was worried at first being closer to my dad, but honestly, he and his bitter wife and kids can do whatever they want. I'm just going to live my life how I want to. We were planning on moving to this state before I ever got back in contact with my family, so we will continue to do what is best for us. Anyways, thank you again, kind Redditors. You really helped me not feel sad or upset for my wedding day. Top comment. Commenter, I'm so glad that you had a wonderful wedding. I wish you and your hubby the best in the future. Live the best of your life with hope, faith, and love. Best revenge you can have. P.S. Something to think about? Stepmom may have told your step-siblings that daddy had an affair, and that may be why they hate you. Okay, next story. Parents stumbled across my sister filming herself. She did it to cope with being homeschooled and raised on purity. I'm writing about this here because I don't want to ask anyone who knows us in real life. But long story short, my parents walked in on my sister filming herself, and she's been punished a lot for it. They've been having talks that involve a lot of yelling, cursing, and she's also lost her phone and freedom to hang out too. They also said that they might rescind their offer to help with college. And they've also told one of our youth group leaders too. Whenever one of us does something wrong, my parents will address it in a family talk even when we have nothing to do with it. So, when it initially happened, they addressed it with me present. However, after talking to my sister afterward, she explained why she did it. And I honestly felt bad that they addressed it at all. We were both homeschooled for all of our life, and most of our social interaction came from church and the homeschool group that they had. She said that she never felt like she fit in, and she had been bullied in recent years too whenever they would have get-togethers. My parents also spoke to us about purity, and we weren't allowed to have any friends that were boys or watch certain shows, sitcoms that involved dating at all. She has often doubted her social abilities, but those concerns were often dismissed whenever she'd bring them up. She doubts herself a lot, and she said that that's why she created the Instagram account, not her main, that features her dressing/posing for certain requests. She has a TikTok too that they don't know about, but they questioned her Instagram when Dad unlocked the door from the outside and walked in on her. She said it helped her cope with not thinking she was pretty, and she didn't think she'd ever get married or have a boyfriend because she's too socially inept. She also said she felt important, wanted whenever she'd get requests, but she's been shamed for it since. I don't know what will happen with our youth leader knowing, but she is really depressed and humiliated. I think it'd be best if she could talk to someone, but our parents would probably never support anyone outside of the church, and I think the way they're handling it is only making things worse. Is there anything I can do to help my sister's condition or convince them to let her talk to an actual counselor? She's been skipping meals for the past few days, and it's because of how they're humiliating her and telling people who have nothing to do with it simply because they think she failed purity. Is it possible for me to take her to talk to someone without her parents' consent, as she's still a minor? First update. There were a few things that kept me from doing an update sooner, but I think now's a good time since I'm no longer living with them. I'm 21 now and staying with a roommate. My sister is 19 now, but my sister's still there until she can afford to move out. I offered to have her move in with me, but she declined when I offered a few times. I asked if she'd like me to bring her to a therapist or help her find one online that I'd pay for after my first post, but she declined again. She was going through a lot at the time, and I want to clarify my first post better because I was beating around the bush. She made a separate Instagram for mostly bikini photos, videos, and she said she felt important, less guilty about her body whenever someone DM'd her a request or complimented her. According to her, she never did anything naked, but the comments would make her feel better whenever she was doubting her image or feeling guilty about pleasuring herself, because her parents told her that masturbating was unpure, so she would use the account for confidence and validation. She also began eating again shortly after my original post, but she recently told me that she still has a lot of guilt whenever it comes to anything sex-related, but she's open to therapy once she can afford it. She currently works part-time retail, but hours aren't consistent and they don't provide medical to part-time employees in her job. Some weeks are 20-ish hours, others are less than 10. She's looking for a second job. Regarding the youth leader they told, there was luckily no follow-up or conversation with him and my sister, so that was a positive that she wanted to avoid. The reason I remembered to update was because we talked about it recently, and she said the most hurtful thing was her parents keeping screenshots from her Instagram when they found it, and she hates knowing they have it. A few commenters suggested asking if she'd like to pursue it way back, but she said she didn't want to burn bridges back then, and still didn't want to because she got over it. She's also not sure when she'll be ready to start dating with her guilt, but she wants to try therapy once she can afford it. I offered to pay for therapy, but she wanted to do it on her own terms. She ended up deleting the Instagram our parents found, but later moved to OnlyFans to find her confidence again, after she became 18. She said she has a free account at the moment, but that she wants to try paid once she moves out. I'm actively trying to help her land something in my office job, something she said to keep her posted about. She said that purity made her feel bad about her body, but that the Instagram OnlyFans did the opposite. It gave her confidence and removed some guilt about herself, and I told her to not feel guilty about it if she is able to find some revenue in it someday. I don't look down on it, and she said she'd be in a worser place mentally without the OnlyFans after what happened with our parents. But I hope that therapy can help her overcome her doubt, so that she'll be able to date someone if she wishes someday. How do you like these stories? Write your opinion in the comments. Let's get 1,000 subscribers on this channel. Love you.